Last year, around this time, I read Matthew Perry's Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, his memoir. I've always been a fan of Chandler Bing, and therefore Matthew Perry, and so I decided to read his book, which was incredibly interesting, intriguing, and a bit painful, filled with suffering, and maybe a little bit of relatability. I've never struggled with addiction, but I've certainly been closely connected to pain throughout my life, to adrenaline, to trauma, to coping. And I felt drawn particularly to a concept that he called Geographic. This idea that he could go somewhere new and start over. It would pretty much save the day every time. He's quoted saying, "I still thought if I removed myself from the situation I was in, I'd be able to quit all the drugs and drinking and come out fighting." Apparently, according to some research I did online, in recovery language, the phrase pulling a geographic is an illogical belief that switching locations will solve all of life's problems. Basically, if you change where you live, all your issues will go away. Well, I spent the last decade of my life pulling geographics, moving, leaving, packing up and going to a new place as a way of sort of escaping vulnerabilities, pain, and in some ways leaving the opportunity to be loved and the opportunity to love. For some reason, constant change, constant newness, was a way of coping. It kept me from being known too much, and therefore loved too much, and it kept me from knowing too much, and therefore loving too much. It was a way of protecting myself from loss, from change. If I was in charge, and I could move and change and lose on my own, I could save myself from the pain of that happening to me. It was a way of taking control, of avoiding the pain of change by creating it myself. And for some reason, it also created a false sense of progress, of success, as messed up as that is, because I couldn't actually commit to anything or anybody or any place or any job. I somehow thought if I move, I'm doing big things. And with that came this addiction to the chase, to the change, to the adrenaline rush that comes from a new place, a new face, a new job, scoping out a new world. I've always been sort of obsessed with that sort of high. But this year, for the first time in the last decade, I moved, but instead of going to start over, I just needed to start fresh. Leaving Arizona was a tough decision, but I knew that I needed my family, and to be quite frank with you, I needed a place I could afford. And so now I live with my family. I live near my family, and I'm back on the East Coast. Now, this is the first time I've gone somewhere without the hopes of starting over, without the hopes of being someone new, without attempting to completely change my identity. This is the first time I'm cool with who I am. I feel comfortable. I really like what I've discovered in myself over the last year, and I want to keep getting to know that. This is the first time in 10 years, and I've moved 25 times in the last 10 years. This is the first time I've moved somewhere, and I'm not looking to start over. Sure, it's a fresh start, a fresh place, a fresh room, but it's not an attempt to rediscover myself. I feel like I'm kind of cool with where I'm at and the person I'm getting to know. And my location in the world doesn't change that. It doesn't need to change that, and this is an incredible thing. I like to say I've lived 9 lives. This is the 9th one. This is the last one. And I feel that way because I'm kind of finally comfortable. I'm finally kind of content. Of course, I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm still healing. I'm still growing. But I'm here now, and not necessarily in a physical location, but in an emotional state. And I could be anywhere in the world and not be altered by change. I think even Matthew Perry knew it was true. It was kind of an illogical thing to believe that switching locations would solve every issue. I think all Matthew Perry was really looking for was a place to call home, a place that felt safe and secure. And maybe that's all it's been for me, a search for safety. But safety is here now, because safety and security is in self. Security is in God. It's in your closest and healthiest relationships. Security, and therefore home, is a state of being. Unshakable. It's a state of mind. And I feel like I have a long way to go, and maybe in life we never completely get there. But I feel like for the first time, I'm not running away to be altered. Change isn't going to alter me. I'm stable. I'm sure. I'm secure. Now, if I change in the future, it's because I'm growing. It's because I'm healing. It's because I'm looking for a chance to be better and stronger and faster and healthier. And maybe at the end of the day, Matthew Perry was really just looking for home within himself, some sort of sense of peace. I think maybe that's what we're all looking for, and I think I'm beginning to find it. I'll see you next week.